Hey everyone, what is going on? And welcome back to another meta guide. So we're going to be in the Ultra League for the next week. It does begin Friday. The Retro Cup is going to continue if you want to go ahead and participate in the Great League meta. But the Ultra League, my favorite league, absolutely love it. And we have some new toys to play with. So it's going to be pretty exciting in my opinion. Now, it goes without saying, but it is an expensive league. If you don't have the resources like XL Candy for some of these Pokemon, yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate because this is an expensive league. But you can get away with running Pokemon that are not necessarily expensive, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So, for the S rank, we have Registeel. Of course, Registeel is always going to be on top, unless if they nerf it in the future, which they might. But as of right now, the Zap Cannon going to be doing a lot, getting that debuff, most likely, right? And even if it doesn't, it hits like a truck. I mean, this Pokemon can flip matchups you wouldn't necessarily expect, right? And then we have Giratina. Of course, Giratina is always a real... We have a couple dragons. Giratina and Zygarde complete. Giratina is amazing, as we've seen it. Non-XL, but it is expensive because it is a legendary Pokemon. And then Zygarde complete. So this, you're probably not going to see too often. You might see a couple times. But just because I feel like a lot of trainers don't have this, I certainly don't have enough XLs for it. But it is a really good Pokemon. It really is. So if you do have it, it is worth using. Go travel those routes because Zygarde Complete is definitely worth it. Next up, we have Cresselia. Cresselia really hangs on because of its bulk. Now, I've seen multiple Cresselia in the Ultra League. Some of them are running Moonblast and Grass Knot. Some of them are running Moonblast and Future Sight. It really depends what you're aiming for, because if you don't run Future Sight, you're not going to be able to touch Pokemon, the fire types, like Talonflame, which is going to be big in this meta, and Charizard, and even Skeledirge, right? So you could go that route depending on your team. Then we have Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz did receive the buff with Aerial Ace last season. It's just, I mean, its bulk really helps it out. Virizion, of course, we all know Virizion. Virizion is super powerful Pokemon. Poliwrath is the new addition, and I do believe it's going to be really strong in this meta. Now, it does have counters, don't get me wrong, but it's a really good Pokemon, right? So counter plus Icy Wind and Scald. Icy Wind, it did receive that this season, and then Scald did receive an update, so it just makes it that much better. I think Poliwrath is really going to shine in the Ultra League. For the A rank, we do have one of my favorites, Pidgeot. I love the Feather Dance because your opponent never knows. If you lead with Pidgeot, your opponent doesn't know if you're going to Brave Bird and Dip or if you're going to go ahead and Feather Dance, right? So a lot of times, I would say a lot of times they don't shield. Then we have Cobalion, which is a really good Pokemon. Of course, we've seen it similar to Virizion, but they're both really strong. Then we have Talonflame, which is the new addition. It's not new per se because we've seen Talonflame before, but it's never been that common. But now, I'm telling you, now it's going to be really common, I think. With that Incinerate buff this season and it receiving Fly, Talonflame is definitely going to shine this season in the Ultra League. There's no doubt about it. Then we have Swampert, good old traditional Swampert, right? Gliscor, I think Gliscor is really good, to be honest. Wing Attack, right? Night Slash. I mean, it could go. You could run Aerial Ace because of the buff last season. I still like the Night Slash Earthquake variant because you have Wing Attack as a fast move, and it is doing double super effective damage to a common Pokemon like Virizion, right? And then we have Dragonite. We've all seen Dragonite. Dragonite is good because of the pressure it puts out. With the fast move pressure, so oppressive. Tentacruel, I think, is really good. I feel like Tentacruel is a Pokemon that just gets better and better each season. I'm currently working on Best Buddy in mine. And then for the B rank, we have Tapu Fini. So Tapu Fini still making waves. I mean, it might even be better this season just because of how common Talonflame is going to be, I think. And it also walls Poliwrath, right? So yeah, Tapu Fini, maybe I could have boosted that up to A rank, actually. Tapu Fini is probably going to be really common this season. We'll see how it plays out. Then we have Regirock. Regirock not as good as Registeel, but you still see the Regirock. If you're really looking to wall Talonflame or Charizard or Skeledirge, you're looking at the right place. And then we have Guzzlord, another Dragon user, Dragon Tail user. Jellicent, I've used Jellicent. I've hit Legend with Jellicent a couple times in the Ultra League. Still really good. Still another Pokemon that is going to wall Poliwrath. So that's definitely a good thing. Lantern, believe it or not, Lantern. Now, Lantern doesn't get quite up to 2,500 CP, but it's still a really, really good Pokemon in this meta because of the Poliwrath, because of how common Tentacruel is, And, I mean, you see Jellicent, you see Flyers, like Talonflame is going to be common. Even Charizard, you'll still probably see Charizard. Pidgeot, I mean, it's just, it does get walled by the dragons, but if you could keep them away from that, I think it has some good play. I mean, you don't want it to see Virizion, but that's really the only grass, not the only grass type you have to worry about, but yeah, I mean, as long as you get a good alignment, Lantern is really good. Defense Deox is another Pokemon that we've seen time and time again. Usually, I would say in the lead. Trevenant, yes, it was nerfed once upon a time, but it's still a good Pokemon just because, I mean, it hits like a truck, right? Toxicroak, I think, is a great core breaker to a lot of teams. At least it was. It walls Cobalion, Virizion, right? And those two are really, really popular. It does well against Registeel, of course, other steel types. Now, because it has Shadow Ball, will it be able to handle Tapu Fini? I don't know. I mean, do you want Shadow Ball, right? Do you want Shadow Ball? Do you want Sludge Bomb? That's up for you to decide. I guess it depends on the team comp you're running. Both movesets are good. I'd probably expect Shadow Ball more so than Sludge Bomb, but yeah, really good Pokemon. So for the other options, we actually have Pelipper, believe it or not. Pelipper could be a really good flyer if you don't want to use like Mandibuzz or Talonflame. You could use Pelipper. Skeledirge, another fire type. Same with Charizard. You're not going to see those as much as Talonflame this season, I don't think, but those are still not bad. Staraptor's yet another flyer. So Staraptor did receive Fly this season, which is good. So I think Staraptor, I think Staraptor's probably more so on the spicier side of things, just because of how frail it is, and it really is frail. But it's still not bad, so you might see it here or there. Maybe if, you know, I don't think I'm going to use it, but you'll probably see it. I think when I go with my flyers, it's probably going to be Talonflame. Greedent is really good. You're still going to want Crunch. It did receive Trailblaze this season, but you're going to want Crunch. I think it's a great safe swap. You need that Crunch for like Cresselia, for like Giratina, right? So yeah, I mean in the Great League, I think Trailblaze is good, but in this league, I'd probably go with the Crunch. And then Charizard we talked about. Skarmory, Skarmory with that Steel Wing buff. Going to be doing pretty good. It's better in the Great League, I think, but still, I mean, Skarmory with Steel Wing, if you best buddy it, you have a hundo, I have a hundo, it's not fully best buddied, but yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it off. I don't have enough XLs either, so it's not going to be this season, but it could be a lot of fun to use. Abomasnow, so I checked PV Poke, and they actually recommend Icy Wind on Abomasnow for the Ultra League, whereas they recommend Weather Ball in the Great League. Weather Ball is more spammier, but Icy Wind, you know, obviously guaranteed to debuff your opponent, which is really nice. Obviously, that could flip matchups. So, yeah, I mean, if you're bulkier, obviously you're bulkier in the Ultra League, right? You probably do want that Icy Wind. Then we have Venusaur as another grass type. It's going to be, you know, you're going to see other grass types over this, like Virizion or Trevenant, I think. But it's an option. Galarian Weezing, I've actually had trouble battling Galarian Weezing in the past, I'm not going to lie. Greninja with Water Shuriken and Hydro Cannon, then we have Skunk Tank and Obstagoon. So, that is going to be the open Ultra League for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the solid team options. So, for the first team, I hit Legend with this team twice, I think, and I think it's going to be even better this season. And I'll tell you why. We have Cobalion in the lead with Pidgeot and Jellicent. Pidgeot and Jellicent both do well against that Poliwrath, which I think will be common, right? So that's obviously going to be really good. You're going to be able to handle that. Against the Talonflame, yeah, Cobalion's not going to do well against Talonflame unless you land a Stone Edge, but Pidgeot could do okay against it. Obviously, you could debuff it, or you can go straight Brave Bird, depending on the situation. And then Jellicent, of course, is going to do well with that Surf damage. Honestly, I was running Hex. Probably go Bubble now, to be honest, just because Bubble did receive that buff. So I'd probably go Bubble with that, but I still think this team holds up, and I'll probably try this team. I mean, why not, right? I'll see how it plays out. The next team is going to be Talonflame in the lead with Virizion and Registeel. I think Registeel could work as a great safe swap, because even if they have an answer to it, right? Even if they respond, let's say they respond Poliwrath, a Zap Cannon, they have to shield the Zap Cannon, right? If they respond Cobalion, they have to shield the Focus Blast. You get the point. I mean, Registeel just does so well. Obviously, if they respond with like a Gliscor or something, you're going to be in trouble. But it's just such a great safe swap, because most of the time, even if there's an answer like Toxicroak, they're still shielding most of the time, right? I think. So you can at least pick up a shield with Registeel. That's why I like Registeel as a safe swap. Next up is going to be Double Dragons. So we have the Zygarde complete. and Guzzlord. If you don't have the Zygote complete, you could go with another dragon. You could go with Dragalge, but you could also go with Giratina. Maybe Dragon Breath Giratina or something. And I think that could work because obviously the backline does not like fairies. But you have Tentacruel, which does like fairies, right? It likes Tapu Fini, it likes other fairies. If you see any Charmuses, I don't know if we'll see any Wigglytuffs. Probably not for the Ultra League, but I think this team could work out pretty well. You could save swap one of your dragons and then, lure out the fairy type or something like that. Next up, we have a team I've seen in the past. This is a non-XL team, so I wanted to include it. Cresselia with Giratina and Swampert. It works out well as a great non-XL team. Now, it's still expensive because at the end of the day, you got 2 legendaries on your team, so 100k each for secondary moves, but it's not as expensive as XL Pokemon. Then we have another team with Gliscor or Shadow Gliscor. I prefer the Shadow one with Tapu Fini and Registeel. I believe I saw this team with Galarian Stunfisk instead of the Registeel, but because of the Earthquake nerf last season, I'm leaning towards Registeel here. You could go with the Stunfisk, but I think this team could work out well. And then next up, we have Double Water with Poliwrath and Lantern in the back, but I put Giratina in the lead. Now, I think this team could work out. Obviously, we do have Double Water, so the thing is, yes, the backline is not going to like Grass, but Poliwrath does have play because of Icy Wind, and then you can lure out a Grass type, and then Giratina walls Grass attacks. So I think that could work out. Poliwrath is going to be weak to Electric, Lantern is not, and then Giratina doesn't care about Electric, right? I think that team could work out, but let me know what team you plan on running in the Open Ultra League, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.